Everyone. Today I'm going to talk on how important is our eyesight and how we should take care of it. And this is an initiative by Santen on World Sight Day 2020. So we all know that the eyes are windows to the soul, and this is an expression everyone uses often because our vision is a window to the world. We cannot see the world if we don't have eyes or if we don't have vision. And our experiences of this world are through only our sight. 80% of all our memories are determined by what we see. Our happiness, sorrow, everything depends upon what we see. So, World Sight Day is an annual global event which draws attention to blindness and its impairment. Objective is to create awareness about eye care, vision blindness, and treatments involved in curing eye impairments. This special day is focused on drawing attention to leading causes of blindness or visual impairment like cataract, glaucoma, refractive errors, which are commonly seen in our population. So globally, 2.2 billion people have an unaddressed vision impairment or blindness, and this is very important because many patients are blind and they don't know what has caused this. Among these, 1 billion people have vision impairment, which could have been avoided, and it is yet to be addressed. As per recent survey, approximately 2% of Indian population is blind, and this is due to various causes, out of which many are preventable. 1.1 million people are blind because of the corneal problems. We need at least 1 lakh corneal transplants annually in India, and current annual transplant number is only 25,000. So we are lacking here also. So we need to have more donors for cornea. Sight is a physical phenomenon. It is a sensory experience like touch, smell, or anything else in which light reflects off objects and the eye then focuses on the light. As we know the physics, the image is actually totally inverted, which is on retina. The retinal neurons or retinal cells take this image to the brain, and there are centers in the brain which interpret these images. So sight allows a person to witness an event, but vision helps the person to understand the significance and draw its conclusions or interpretations. So it is the center in the brain which is also more important. Protecting our eyes and our sight is of utmost importance. So let's see how an eye works. It is like a camera. There are multiple refractive layers. So this is what we call as cornea. The center is the pupil, which is made up of iris. The color of our eyes depends on this iris. This in the center, which focuses these lights in the retina, on the retina, which is a central part, and this is the most sensitive. So this is what we call as retina. There is in between a layer called as choroid, which is actually a vascular layer and which supplies nutrients to this highly efficient and effective retina. And outside is the sclera, which is the white part, which is the thickest part of the eye. So the most important thing when you have any sight or vision is the rays should fall from here, from outside to the retina, where the image is taken by this nerve to the brain and where it is interpreted. So if you have any problems of this, what we call as media, so if you have any problems of these particular things, the image is not able to fall on the retina properly, and then there are multiple problems. So let's see what are the common eye problems. These are mainly astigmatism, refractive errors like myopia or hyperopia. Dry eyes is also one of the major problem nowadays. There can be digital strain because of the digital images in the eye. There can be allergic conjunctivitis or even infective conjunctivitis. And the other things are like color in the children are what we call as lazy eyes. That is also called as amblyopia. There can be strabismus, what we call in medical terms as squint, or ptosis. So these are the important problems in the children which should be cared for. In older people, we can have presbyopia, that is difficulty for near vision. Cataract is again an aging process. Glaucoma can happen in certain percent of populations. There can be retinal problems like age-related macular degeneration, or if the patient has diabetes, they can have diabetic retinopathy also. So this is a normal vision. How it is focuses nicely on this retina any than the normal. So image, instead of focusing on the retina, focuses somewhere in between, and the rays which pass here are like defocused. So the image which comes to the retina is defocused, so the patients are not able to see. This can be seen in all ages, and it can be, the symptoms can be squinting or headaches or eye strain. So these patients need to wear a spectacle correction here in the form of a concave lens. So the image, the rays, they don't go directly here, so they will be diverted a little bit according to the length of the eyeball, and then they focus on the retina properly. So the person is able to see the images very clearly. This also can be corrected as with the help of contact lenses, or if the patient is above the 18 years of age, they can also undergo refractive surgery. The next common is hyperopia, which is commonly called as farsightedness. So here what happens is, distant objects are clear, but nearer objects are blurred. Again, this can be seen at any age. Obviously, it is since childhood, but can be manifested at any age. So again, these patients can have blurred vision for near, sometimes for intermediate also, and definitely they develop stress, strain related to their work. Again, the treatment is in the form of wearing prescription. Here, what happens is the length of the eyeball is small. So the rays which come from our pointed image and would be a unfocused, blurred image. So what we do in the form of spectacles or contact lenses, we wear a glass which is a convex lens. So the rays start converging early, and they will fall exactly on the spot where they are taken to the brain. So again, this refractive error can be corrected with the help of contact lenses, or even refractive surgery, that is laser surgery, after 18 years of age. Amblyopia, commonly known as lazy eye. So sometimes there can be squint, but may not be squint in many of the patients also. So what happens is, in one eye, the images form perfectly on the retina, or a little bit blurring might be there, but the other eye has a very high refractive error. So image is not formed. But because our brain interprets what is seen by a good eye, the eye which has a blurred image becomes a lazy eye. So the image is not taken up by the brain, and that eye doesn't develop. After a particular age, like 5 years of age or 7 years of age, the brain is ineffective to interpret the image even after we give correction. So it is very important to detect this problem even when the patient is less than 5 years of age, because this can be corrected if diagnosed early with the help of giving proper glasses to that patient and patching the good eye. So the lazy eye starts seeing the things, and the brain starts interpreting these things properly. So with glasses, or later on with refractive errors, the person can have a binocular vision. So this problem, if treated early, has very good effect. Next is astigmatism. The cornea is actually regular in the curvature in all its axes, or all directions, or all meridians. But if it has a different curvature in different axes, we call this as astigmatism, because some of these rays would be focused on this and the other rays would not be focused. Again, the image would be blurred, and which can give rise to symptoms like headache, eye strain. If the astigmatism is much more high, again the image would be totally blurred and would not be accepted by the brain. So patient can start squinting. This blurred vision again can give to difficulty for driving at night. And this can be again corrected with the help of spectacles, contact lens, or refractive surgery when the patient is at the age of 18 or 15. So coming to the other problems, that is squint, this is commonly known as cross eyes or squint, and commonly seen in children. This condition is because of the misalignment of the eyes. One eye might be turned inwards or outwards. So it is difficult for the patient to judge depth of focus, and patient may develop just a uniocular vision if not corrected early. So why this happens is because there are 6 muscles for each eye. So the eye can rotate in any direction, it can move in any direction. But if there is muscle dysfunction, or if there is farsightedness, the refractive error is not corrected, or if there is trauma to the eye where the muscle becomes a little weak, or some genetics which can also have some role. So these are the causes which may give rise to squints. Again, the symptoms are like the children are inattentive in class because they cannot sit properly. Even during sports or some ball games, they won't be able to catch the ball because the binocular vision may not be developed. So these are the problems, and they lag behind in school. So treatment is very simple. Usually, if there is refractive error, we can give them glasses, and if very glasses won't help, that has to be judged by some tests. We can give some surgery of the muscles and align these eyes and they should be aligned as early as possible. And this is a corrective treatment for this patient. So many squints we need to undergo after a trial of glasses. They need to undergo surgery. Coming to the other problem, that is ptosis, commonly known as droopy eyes. What happens is there is a drooping of eyelid because of the weak muscle over there. So this muscle which lifts the eyelid is weak in the other eye. So the lid margin goes down, and sometimes if it obstructs the pupillary area, even the vision can go down. So this again can be a genetic problem, a hereditary problem, and can obstruct, because if the pupil is permanently blocked or permanently obstructed, the child may not develop vision because the brain is not able to grasp images from this eye. So if the child has this condition, it needs to be corrected on an urgent basis. So the most important thing is the percentage of ptosis is very less, and whenever we see this, we need to consult a doctor to see what has to be done for this patient. Coming to other modalities like other diseases, these are the corneal ulcers. These in rural area, this is very common. Urban areas, we rarely see them, because even if some foreign body is there, something is there, patient usually seeks help of doctors. So corneal ulcer is like an open wound or open sore on the cornea, which is a transparent part of the eye, front part of the eye. And this is usually called is because of the injury, which again followed by infection or any infection directly to the eye. As you can see, even if this ulcer is on the outside, there is a white streak over there, and this is because of the inflammation or swelling of or release of some cells inside the eye. So this is again a very urgent situation and needs very urgent and immediate treatment. The symptoms can be redness, foreign body sensation, pus or thick discharge from the eye. Patients will have photophobia. The eyelids also would be swollen, and there would be pain, and sometimes you can see a white spot on the front part. This is due to many infections like bacterial, viral, some parasitic infections, or even fungal infections. If the patient is on steroids or some other pathologies are there, comorbid situations, what we call them. So if any other diseases is going on, there can be even fungal infections also. Injury due to thorn or a wood stick can result into fungal infections. So treatment is depending upon the cause. You can start antifungal, antibiotic, or antiviral. Sometimes we need to scrape this part to see which bacteria is there, and accordingly we can give that particular medication which would be helpful for that patients. Very rarely, if the ulcer is severe and we think that the cornea is becoming thin and the eye might open up, like there might be a perforation, we need to replace this cornea, either the diseased part or the whole part, with a another cornea which has been donated. So from a healthy patient, per person, we need to take out the cornea and put a graft over there. So coming to next one, conjunctivitis, which is commonly known as pink eye, and this is very common when the rainy season starts. So this is an inflammation of the transparent membrane of the layer, which is on this white layer which surrounds the cornea. So the redness is mainly because of the vascularity over there. and there can be itchiness, a gritty foreign body sensation because of the dilated vessels over there, and there can be discharge from the eye, and excessive watering can be there. So, but because of this, the patients, they come and seek immediate help because the symptoms are quite severe many times. So the causes again can be because of viruses, bacteria, or allergies, or sometimes a foreign body goes into the eye and which causes infection of the conjunctiva. So again, prevention would be practice of good hygiene. You should wash your eyes frequently. Don't touch the eyes with your cornea. Wash hands often. Use protective goggles when you're outdoors, and use a clean towel and washcloth. The most important thing is that you should not share your personal things, towels and other things, or napkins, handkerchiefs with other person, because this is a very contagious situation and you can give this infection to your family members or friends if not handled properly. Usually, the treatment should be in the form of relief of the problem. That is, we give lubricating drops, antibiotics, and any other drops which might be needed. Again, contact lens wearers, we should stop using contact lens. Antibiotics usually are not needed if it is a viral infection, but can be given to prevent a secondary bacterial infection in these cases. So the next problem is cataract, also called as motiabind in Hindi or motibindu in Marathi. So this is again a most common problem, cause of treatable blindness. So whenever we see a cataract like this is actually a totally advanced cataract, but we do see this type of patients, especially after COVID areas, which the patients have not turned up for 6 months, even if they have problem. And now we are seeing lot of patients with total cataracts, but more commonly seen in rural population where there are facilities are very less. Unless you conduct a camp or do some really visual check for these patients by a medical health worker, it is difficult to find out cataracts like this in modern days. So the symptoms again can be fogging of vision, or blurred vision. There can be halos around the lights in early stage of the disease. There can be problem for driving. There can be photophobia or difficulty to see the light and glare. The colors look like faded colors, or the most again a common symptom is frequent change of glass prescriptions or the contact lens. If the patient has a cataract like this, it is usually the patients would be able to perceive only the light and he won't be able to see anything. So what we call this as a total cataract. The main important cause is aging. The other causes are like comorbid situations like obesity, hypertension. Diabetic patients again develop cataracts very early, 5 to 10 years early than their other non-diabetic patients. Again can be a trauma or any injury or any intraocular surgery can develop a cataract. High exposure to UV light, or the people who are like doing some outdoor work like farmers or some builders or all the supervisors on construction site, they can develop early cataract. The next thing is smoking. Smoking can induce an early cataract, and even poor nutrition has a high chances of developing cataract early. So the treatment for this is mainly in the form of surgery. There are no eye drops to cure cataracts. So in this, what we do is we take out the cataract with a special probe. So this is like a pencil. It goes inside the eye, and it has three functions. What it will do is uses an ultrasonic energy, and this hard material is converted into a milky material like a liquid. And this is a pore over there. So from this, fluid comes into the eye, and the milky material along with this is absorbed through the central part and taken outside. So once everything is clear, we can implant an artificial lens exactly where the cataract is. All this surgery is possible only because of the modern technologies where we use a microscope and an ultrasonic machine for which is called as phacoemulsification machine. So initially, that is previously 20-25 years back, what we used to do is we used to take a big incision over here, almost 6 to 7 millimeters, take out the whole cataract. it may or may not be possible, was possible to implant the lens over there, and then we had to take stitches. But now because of this modern technology, we can do this just in a 2.3 or 2.7 millimeter incision. So this, and the patient is up and above immediately even after the surgery. So what happens? We remove this lens, then we replace it with a clear artificial lens, and this is called as intraocular lens. So in some instances, very rarely, if it is not possible to implant this lens because the support of implanting the lens, what we call as the capsular bag, if it is defective, the surgeon 1 in 1000 can happen. So may not be able to implant the lens, and the patient may have to use regular eyeglasses to correct the vision or contact lens, and in some situations we suture this lens to the white part of the eye, which is called as secondary IOL implantation or scleral IOL fixation. So this can be done, but at a later stage when the eye completely heals of the cataract surgery. Before the cataract surgery, if patient wants, we can inject an intraocular local anesthesia to numb the eye. But sometimes nowadays we are doing even with some drops. We put the drops 10 to 15 minutes before surgery, numb the eye, and do this surgery without even the injection. Usually this cataract surgery is safe and the discomfort lasts for only a few days, and total healing occurs in 4 to 6 weeks, and patient can join his duties or his work, but he can start his day-to-day routine even on the next day. So this is the advantage of modern surgery. Now coming to the next thing, that is glaucoma, also called as Kala Mutiya, or in Marathi we call this as Kazbindu. So this is because of the damage to the optic nerve. What happens is, there is this cornea and this cataract which we described, this is a clear lens initially. So these two structures, they don't have regular blood supply. So there are some glands situated behind in this part. So from this, the aqueous, that is watery part of the blood, separates out, what we call as aqueous. This circulates inside the eye, and then again is taken away from a part from here to the main bloodstream. So if this circulation something goes wrong, like the absorption is much more, or the secretion is much more, or the absorption is less, there is accumulation of fluid inside the eye, and this affects the optic nerve. So the pressure comes from the optic nerve, and the optic nerve slowly starts getting damaged. So if the optic nerve gets damaged, definitely the images which would be conveyed to the brain are not of good quality. So the patient starts losing eyes. But the most important thing is, the patients are totally unaware that the pressure is slightly going up. It doesn't happen that one day the sight is gone. So this is a process, and what we call this as a chronic disease. But the most important thing here is there, once the optic nerve gets damaged, it is an irreversible damage. So the damage cannot be reversed by any means like drops, medications, or any type of surgery. So we call this as a silent thief of sight. The main risk factors for this are like patients above the age of 40, or if the patients have a family history of glaucoma. Some other medical conditions like diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure can give rise to high pressure inside the eye. If the patient has very high refractive error, like high near or far-sighted patients. If the patient has eye injury, again there will be disruption of the collecting channels, and this can cause glaucoma. If the patient is on steroid medications, especially some eye drops or some medications like asthma or skin disease or for renal problems, they also can develop glaucoma. So as the optic nerve starts getting damaged slowly, this is a totally near picture what a patient can see. But here you can see that slowly the peripheral vision starts getting affected. And this slowly comes down, but the patient is unaware because he can see the central part very clearly. He's unaware that his side vision is going down. And once this is there, then it is very difficult for this patient to regain or remain his vision, because when this occurs, almost 70 to 80% nerve damage has already set in, and it is difficult to stay with this vision also. We have seen that almost 20 to 30% of patients with this vision lose their central sight also over the time, even if the eye pressure gets corrected, because there is severe damage to the optic nerve. So the most important thing in glaucoma is early diagnosis, which can be done if we do a good examination, what we doctors call as comprehensive eye examination every year. So even if we find out that there is a suspect that the pressure is high, or the optic nerve shows a little damage, we can do certain tests to see if the patient has glaucoma or not. There's certain risk factors, as I discussed. We see this if how severe are there, and we advise the patients the follow-up, how frequently it has to be done. So frequent follow-up and the initial examination at an early age is very important to prevent this problem and prevent patients for going into blindness. So during these investigations, what we do is we check the intraocular pressure with the help of tonometry. We do gonioscopy to see how the angle where the drainage is occurring is there. Is it blocked or is it open? We check the optic nerve for any damage. Perimetry is done to test the side vision, that is peripheral field of vision. Central corneal thickness is measured to see the thickness of the cornea, because on this pressure is dependent. And we do optical coherence tomography, that is OCT, which gives us retinal nerve fiber layer thickness. That is, this is a criteria to check the optic nerve, which shows us how much optic nerve is damaged in glaucoma and how frequently we should do the eye examination or these tests in that particular patient. The initial treatment for any glaucoma patient is to lower the intraocular pressure with the help of medications, that is eye drops. So initially, if the pressure is high, we might give you some tablets which are for a short particular period, but mainly the pressure has to be controlled with the help of eye drops. If not, we can advise laser treatment, and very rarely a surgery can be advised if the patient is not getting controlled with the help of medications, or the patient is progressing. That progressing means the field is deteriorating very fast even with the pressures have come down, but the field is progressing, then we advise surgery for this patient. Sometimes even after surgery, patient may need laser treatment or may need 1 or 2 drops to control this pressure, the intraocular pressure. So the treatment is consist of reducing the eye pressure, and this has time. Like sometimes we say that you have to use the drops twice a day or once a day or sometimes even 3 times a day. So this has to be like 3 drops, not like morning, afternoon, evening. They have to be spaced out. Suppose there are 2 drops, you can use them 12 hourly. If there are 3 drops, you have to use them 8 hourly. Now there are some modern medications available for last 10 to 15 years where you can use only a single drop. The effect lasts for 24 hours. So this has to be controlled, like IOP has to be controlled. So other medication, other modalities which are told, like laser trabeculoplasty can be done. So where a laser beam is pointed, where the collecting channels are there, which is trabecular meshwork, and we open up these clog channels. Filtering surgery is there, where we to heal this part, because if this part heals, again the intraocular pressure, the aqueous which is coming out of this eye might get hampered, and the patient may start developing again slightly high pressure, which needs to be controlled with medication. Nowadays there are certain drainage tubes. So these drainage tubes are implanted in the chamber, that is anterior chamber of the eye, and the valve is outside. So they have a limited capacity to drain the eye. So the pressure remains constant, and this is again a very good surgery to control the intraocular pressure. Nowadays, there are other surgeries are coming, what we call as MIGS or minimally invasive glaucoma surgery. But all these stents and all these things which are used are very costly, and it has not been available in India till now, but may come in a short while. So coming to some retinal problems which are very common. This one is age-related macular degeneration, in short called as ARD. So this is normal retina of the eye, and this is the optic nerve which takes your signals, visual signals to the brain. This is called as macula, which is the most sensitive part of the patient, and all our images, all our vision depends upon how good this macula is. This is just a 1500 micron space, but your whole vision, visual acuity, or your reading, writing skills and other skills depend on this part. So age-related macular degeneration, what happens is there is a development of these spots. So this is a non-functioning, the choroid or the retinal pigment epithelium, which is the last layer of the retina, and this starts malfunctioning and the images formed are distorted here. So this we call as dry AMD. So here there is a disturbed or distorted vision. So what happens, this is still a condition where we can just keep a watch and give some supplements for this, but rarely there is a development of vascular tissue behind this, and which can cause bleeding behind the retina. So this is what we call as a wet AMD. So risk factors for this are heredity, smoking, obesity, and most important is age. So this is typically seen in older people, and it's the fourth most common cause of blindness. Uh, as I said, it is difficult for to drive, to recognize faces, and reading and performing routine activities are hampered, though the peripheral vision remains good. So patient can walk around, but it is difficult to see the stairs, difficult to see the bumps or any holes, potholes on the road. So all your routine activities can go down. Very rarely, if the patient develops something like this, even visual hallucinations can occur. So diagnosis is done with the help of OCT, that is optical coherence tomography. So this is like a scan, three-dimensional scan or a horizontal scan of the retina. So this is the upper retina and these are the layers behind. So we know what is going on and how severe is this. So depending upon this, we can advise some injections or follow up. Whether it is really very early, we can just give some drops and see if it improves. So the injections are in the form of inside the eye, not like on the routine injections which we receive, and this needs to be given in the operation theater and needs to be repeated. If the swelling over here or the condition over here resolves, we just do a repeat OCT and see if it is resolving. If it doesn't resolve, patients need even multiple injections for this problem. The next is fluorescein angiography. So here a dye is injected in a vein of hand, and the dye travels to the eye and the photos are taken and seen how it is leaking from this eye. And then we can, if it is in the center, we may not be able to do laser, but if this is just away from the center, the leaking of the dye, we may do laser for this condition, and it definitely resolves this condition to certain extent. So these are the investigation and treatment modalities for this. Now in India, the diabetes is like coming up because the patient population is becoming affluent. Diabetes is, the incidence is increasing at a very rapid rate, and now we are seeing diabetic retinopathy even in younger patients around 40-45 also. So what happens is in diabetes is there is generalized damage to the blood vessels of all organs. So even for retina, there is damage to these blood vessels. They become leaky, and the parts, the proteins which are inside the eye, the fluid which is inside this capillaries starts leaking out. So what you see white spots like is here is the collection of this fluid. Because the capillaries are weak and they are obstructed, the retina starts generating new vessels which are abnormal and they are fragile. So even with trivial trauma, like getting up in the morning also, where the blood pressure slightly goes up, they can bleed. So this is what is diabetic retinopathy. And if left untreated, the bleeding which is occurred deposits fibrin over there, and which can contract the retina, and there can be a secondary retinal detachment also. The main important thing is it also depends upon sugar and also depends upon the duration of the diabetes. So here it is how a normal patient will see a photograph, but here a diabetic patient, because of this multiple spots over here, he may not be able to see, all the part of a photo or a picture correctly. So the symptoms are like spots or dark strings, which are the vessel, which are the blood or the cells coming out of the small capillaries. There can be blood vision if there is a swelling in the central part. Sometimes the vision can be fluctuating. There can be impaired color vision, and as I explained, there can be dark or empty areas in your visual field. The main risk factors are duration of the diabetes, poor control of the blood sugar level because it fluctuates too high, the capillaries are damaged. If the patient has high blood pressure or high cholesterol, again there is a risk, this is a risk factor. And again, a patient is a chronic smoker or a tobacco user, then the capillaries as it is, they constrict. So again, this becomes a risk factor. So the treatment is mainly to control the diabetic retinopathy. We cannot cure it because we cannot replace the retina. So early diagnosis and early treatment is very important for these patients. So the most important thing is stable and continuous control of blood sugar level and continuous follow-up. The treatment is in the form of laser. Whenever we see new blood vessels leaking, we can laser these parts. And if there is a detachment or if there is a traction or there is too much of bleeding because of the rupture of the blood vessels, we need surgery to remove the bleeding, and then we do laser for the retina. So nowadays in COVID situation, the digital use of all these appliances is increasing tremendously. So this has become a big problem nowadays. So the watching television is now about 6%. News, smartphone use is going up. Videos like Netflix, Amazon has going up. Chatting is also increased on WhatsApp and other modalities. And even on social media, the rise is very high. So this percentage has gone up, especially during COVID eyes. And because of this, there is a lot of eye strain. So eye strain is definitely a irritating feature, but it is usually not serious. And it goes away if you try to rest your eyes. If you rest your eyes in between the sessions, or maybe 2 minutes after every 20 minutes of exposure to a digital screen, the strain can go down. So this is a term which describes a group of symptoms which occur in some people due to our lifestyle or due to working. This is definitely uncomfortable, but it doesn't damage, and we can be reduced by very simple measures like closing your eyes for some minutes, and it is very, very rarely a sign of underlying eye disease. Why is this so? Because the image which is happens in the on the retina is not focused because of some disease process going on, and that patients can develop an eye strain. So very rarely it can be because of some disease and which needs urgent treatment, but otherwise the eye strain can be reduced with certain measures. So the main symptoms are blurred vision, irritation in the eye because of again dryness, stinging or burning sensation. Sometimes there can be excessive watering, redness, very rarely headache, or sometimes feeling of disorientation or difficulty in focusing also. So it definitely affects and impacts our quality of vision and our day-to-day activities. So if you have excessive watering or dryness, there can be difficulty in reading. If you go for shopping and if you're not able to see what is there and what is written on there, there can be difficulty for this also. There can be difficulty for cleaning things or dusting because of this, and even the dust also can cause problems. And the most important is difficulty for working on laptops or desktops. So what we can do is practice good hygiene to prevent the eye strain. So these are some healthy eye tips. So distance from the eye should be 25 inches of any screen. You need to lower the brightness or decrease the contrast of the screen. Follow 20-20 rules. That is, for every 20 minutes, you should stay away for 20 seconds at least. Or if you close the eye for 2 minutes, that is also okay. Or look for some distant objects in the room. So that also helps. So what happens is if you start looking at a screen on your desktop, on your laptop or on your phone, the blinking rate goes down, and this gives to drying of your eyes. So this helps in preventing dryness. So again, the other things is that you need to wash your eyes regularly. Use nighttime settings to minimize blue light exposure of any devices, and consider turning off some of these devices if when you are working. Try to blink more, close your eyes more, and avoid looking at the monitor constantly. So this helps in avoiding the eye strain. So to sum up all this, so what is important is there is a need for regular eye checkups. An eye exam involves a series of tests. It's not just checking your eyes with a torchlight. So you need to check your vision. You need to see if there is any refractive error. You need to see if needed, visual field test should be done. The other thing is that slit lamp examination, which is a microscope which magnifies the structures in the eye and helps in determining what the problem is. So this is also important. Retinal examination should be done routinely to see if there are any retinal problems coming up. And glaucoma, if it is there, there is a need to check intraocular pressure. And if the pressure is high, if after checking up your optic nerve, it looks like you are a glaucoma suspect, there is a need to do many tests. So when to do the eye test? In children between 3 to 5 years should undergo a complete thorough eye examination, including the retinal checkup. If there are no symptoms or family history of eye diseases, then one examination in every 1 to 2 years after this is enough. But adults should do every 5 to 10 years in earlies, like between 20 to 30, every 2 to 4 years from 40 to 54, and every 1 to 3 years from 55 to 64, and every 1 year at least after the age of 65. And this is when the eyes are totally normal. If you have some problem, if you have diabetes, or if you have any other problem, the doctor will advise you when to come for a next follow-up. Like sometimes we ask them to come after 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. So some eye problems need continuous checkup to see whether they are progressing or whether the eye problems are stable. So regular checkup helps us in detection of eye diseases very early, and we help you in preserving your vision, which is the most important for this world. So this is the last, that is, you have to take a pledge to donate your eyes, because as we have seen, the cornea is very important and we lack in corneal donations in India. So many percentage of corneal blindness will be benefited if corneal donation are done after, or we pledge for corneal donations. So we need to help the visually impaired to see the beauty of this life and beauty of this world. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your presentation, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, ma'am, we'll be sharing a YouTube link with you so that you can share it along with your patients, ma'am.
Yes, sure. Thank you. That will be.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.